All right, Sun Devil fans, welcome into our next Zoom series, interview series. Here, happy to be alongside Deputy of Athletics, Gene Boyd. My name's Scotty Gaines. Gene, how you doing today?
Good, Scotty. Just getting after it in a different fashion than
Right.
maybe the norm would be.
It's kind of awkward, I bet. You just mentioned you're spending some of the time at the office. You're at home right now, spending more time at home. How are you adapting to that?
Yeah, well, human beings were designed to adapt, right? And the
Mhm.
human spirit will adapt ultimately to the challenges it's presented with. So this is a clear case for all of us in that regard. At the university at Arizona State University here, we have a lot of guidelines as it relates to staff and essential personnel. While everyone's essential, it's not essential that everyone's on campus all the time.
Mhm.
And so we've really got a skeletal crew. Mike Chismar, who is our director of facilities and operations, Frank Ferrara, our CFO here and there, and just a couple of others, myself included. We do some rotation time on task in the office, partly because we have some distribution of food and meals going out to some of our student athletes through our sports dietitian, Amber Udell, and our partner in food provision. So, when you've got people who are coming to the building for anything, you have to have someone around from an administrative standpoint. And so that's part of the reason why some of us are there. But we're doing a lion's share of work from home. I think we've identified it as 98% of work from home for the overall athletic department.
Wow.
And that's probably the most difficult for our coaches who are used to being hands-on and front-facing the student athletes and everything all day, every day. So yeah, it's strange for us all for sure, but we're adapting the best we can. I mean, there's never been so much Zoom that us have had in our life, in the history of mankind. Of course, I mean, a newer product and certainly something that has taken hold, and as people have gotten to know how to use it, I might be involved in more meetings than I normally am, to be quite honest
Yeah.
with
You're a Zoom expert now. Is that what you're
you.
saying?
There's no question about it, man. When I am in the office and Ray's in there, I mean, I'll run in and set up Zoom meetings for him, and I've become pretty adept at setting up a Zoom meeting and inviting people and sharing my screen,
Right.
of
Exactly.
course, right? So
It's
all
interesting to hear
good.
that 98% of the Sun Devil Athletics team is working from home. I'm wondering, how about students? Classes are all online. How
Right.
many students are still on campus with pretty much everything shut down right now?
Yeah, so obviously there are a good number of students that live in Arizona, student athletes that live in Arizona, from Arizona and live in
Right.
Arizona. This is home, and for many of them, um, while they may not be on campus, they're in the vicinity. Um, but part of what happened, as we were coming off of the end of spring break, and we were at the tournament and all for the Pac-12 conference and everything. Spring break was wrapping up, and so everything was kind of happening simultaneously, and every couple of hours things were changing. But from a university standpoint, we were open and ready to move forward with classes and everything. And then so student athletes were coming back pretty much in mass. And then by the end of the weekend, going into the week after spring break, it had the direction had shifted. And so, everything was going to be in an online format, and the safety mechanisms and the information we were getting from both the federal and local government around safety and all, kind of the tide shifted, if you will. And so a lot of student athletes kind of turned right back around and went home. And over the past couple of weeks, especially as things went exclusively all online, the lion's share of our student athletes are at home. Uh, the fact of the matter is there are some individuals who, with all of the concerns and the fear about certain elements of the disease and everything, this might be a better place, a more stable place.
Yeah.
That's not a lot of people, but there are a few. And so, individuals who might be in those kind of situations are still here and on campus and riding it out with a few others who are.
Really interesting. I know ASU has so many international students or student athletes and student athletes from all over the country in every single state. So that's really interesting. I know for you, right, you've been a part of the ASU family since the 90s. You played football for 3 seasons in the 90s at ASU. You're the deputy athletics director and chief of staff now. And I know something that's so important to you is empowering young athletes, not only in terms of sport, but in terms of in terms of education and maximizing their own human potential. Last week, I was speaking to Ray Anderson, and he noted there's a few ways that he himself is trying to improve in his job and with Sun Devil Athletics as a whole. I'm wondering, what about you in this kind of weird time that is so unique to right now? What are you trying to improve on in your own job and in Sun Devil Athletics as a whole?
Yeah, I mean, as human beings, we constantly evolve, and we evolve based on our life histories and the circumstances that are around us and in front of us. And so, you're right, Ray charged the whole department, coaches, student athletes, staff included, to really take this to be a time of reflection and contemplation about emerging from this as a better version of oneself. So for me, the deputy AD role, chief of staff, is in some senses a catch-all. You're kind of managing multiple things at the same time all the time. And what I'm focusing on personally right now is really organization. The different buckets that we have as an athletic program and what those are, and making sure that we are strategically aligned in those areas to make sure that we have strong goals. I mean, really looking at our strategic plan overall is one of my primary responsibilities. And some people will say, well, wow, in a time like this, the strategic plan is out the window. In fact, the strategic plan becomes even more important in a time like this, because you have to be really focused on the things that are most important and how you're going about getting to them, and then how you do that in an evolved manner. I mean, I was just on a call with one of the executive vice presidents who was talking about the fact that this time period is really an acceleration of some things that people were already thinking about. How to use technology better, and how are you more innovative and creative in terms of how you message things to young people and to donors and to your fans and things like that. We're having conversations right now about how we do that at an elevated and more evolved level that uses technology and innovation more centrally. So, as for me personally, I'm really going deep inside and thinking about how to be more effective, more efficient, more creative, use technology better, all those kind of things simultaneously.
It's really interesting. And I can see that, even in these times when work is so much different and there's, of course, no live sports events or anything like that for ASU, you're still finding some positives to take out of this entire situation.
There's no doubt about it. I think Coach Edwards, when this all first started happening, was quoted as saying, the world it has become a really noisy place. And although we're still very busy, it's a lot more quiet. When people kind of stop and listen, it's more quiet. And I think that we should all be trying to figure out how to create focus and clarity in not only our personal lives, but certainly the things that we're connected to, that we're passionate about, whether that be our jobs and our careers, our families, right? For the student athletes, their future, really taking this opportunity in this moment to create clarity and focus around what those critical elements are, and then what the best pathways are, and what the best connecting people and tools, right, to assemble yourself in a way that you come out of this as again a better version of yourself.
I love that. Gaining clarity and focusing on finding ways to gain and to improve Sun Devil Athletics. Fantastic, Gene. Thank you so much for the time. Again, my name's Scotty Gange, here with Deputy Athletics Director and Chief of Staff, Gene Boyd. Thank you so much. Hope you're doing well. Stay safe. And again, appreciate the time.
Absolutely. You too, man. O2B.